What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared Haas, and welcome to the Best Seat the Track. I am back from my vacation from Atlanta, and I'm glad to be back here to do this show as well. Joining me this weekend up in the Granite State is our Northeastern correspondent and our photo editor, Amy Henderson. Amy, it is great to have you. It is your Best Seat the Track debut, and we're up here at Loudon, and we just had the Xfinity race today. A lot of chaotic action that happened, but it was a relatively calm finish with Allgaier taking the win. But the bigger story was Landon Castle and Noah Gragson failing post-race inspection. You talked to Landon Castle too. What was his thoughts on running up front and almost capturing the win? Obviously would have been for nod, but it was a good run for Castle's team nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. Landon has a great attitude about this. He knows. Yes, he's been racing in Xfinity Cup. He's got 500 starts in NASCAR altogether, but he's never had the equipment to race at the front. So he understands that there's a learning curve there. And he said it best after the race: you have to lose to win. And so I feel like today was the day that he lost, both on the track, and he came really close. I think a couple mistakes at the end, maybe some things that he knows that he can do differently next time to make things improve. And then with the DQ for the ride height, he and Gregson both got hit with that. But I think that we're looking at a driver who I'd be surprised if you don't really see some results out of him in the second half, and that win could be around the corner.
Absolutely. You can't keep a Colin car outside of Victory Lane in the Xfinity Series too long. I want to give some shout-outs, too. There was quite a few good runs. We had Brandon Brown finish third after the DQs. Jeremy Clemens, he finished fourth. And then we had Ty Dillon finish sixth, Weatherman eighth, Mason Massey ninth, Bailey Curry 10th. Which of those do you think needed that run the most, that good top 10 run? Quite a few drivers with our contenders, Ty Gibbs, William Byron, AJ Allmendinger, had issues. Who benefited the most with that good run?
I think it's hard to say, because I think it's honestly all of them. And this is the type of track that can we all saw how tough it was on some of the top competitors with, Byron's engine. Dillon had his difficulties, had a multi-car crash, and a couple others get turned. So you definitely you capitalize wherever you can, however you can. And if you're in the right position at the end of the race, then that's when you are able to get that top 10, top 5 finish when that DQ happens, or when somebody makes a mistake and crashes in front of you. So it's all about positioning, and those guys all did a great job this week. And like I said, any driver who's having a tough year for any reason will tell you they all needed it.
Absolutely. Now we're going to be shifting gears to Sunday for the NASCAR Cup Series race. Loudon has traditionally not been a Chevy track in the last 15 years. In the last 15 races, at Loudon, Chevy only won once. It's only been Ford and Toyota, and even the Xfinity Series, yes, a Chevy did win this weekend with Allgaier, but it was since Kevin Harvick in 2007 that the Chevys won. And like I said, we have quite a few. There's a couple Fords. There's Eric Almirola, who won here last year, and Kevin Harvick that are on that playoff bubble looking into the playoffs. And you spoke to Kevin Harvick, and we have this soundbite right here.
Well, I think anytime we go somewhere for the first time, it's just different, and you never know how the track is going to race. And I think as you look at this particular track, we haven't been here yet, and it's got bumps and it's flat, so it's all the things that would point to a lot of the things that we've struggled with this car as a series. So we'll see. You never know. Sometimes bumps and lack of grip create good races, and I've learned with this car that you don't anticipate anything because you just it's no idea what's going to be like.
It seems like it almost changes every week.
Yeah,
as far as how good
know.
you are. You're
Yeah.
good one week, and then the next week's tough. So it's a little bit of that learning curve is still there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like anybody have an advantage here? I know you've had a lot of success here.
Yeah. I mean, none of that really matters. I think obviously the Chevrolets have had the dominant cars throughout the years, and it seems like the Fords and the Toyotas are hit or miss as far as where we can run good and do run good and have good finishes. But the Chevys are consistently faster than both of our cars. So you just go and see where you're at and go from there.
Now, Amy, there's a lot of pressure coming on with the playoffs. We know we talk about this, we've been talking about the beginning of the season, when you're in too, but how important is it for these Fords to perform well, especially these bubble drivers, and Harvick and Eric Almirola starting pretty well in the field?
It's extremely important. I think that the Fords, for whatever reason, and we've seen a lot of parity with this car, but we're also starting to see now, as we start to see some tracks for a second time, and teams have time to figure things out. I think we've definitely seen the Chevrolets and the Toyotas. They seem to have found something that the Fords just haven't yet. So it's critical for them to find something. Now, that said, also, even it's not just a this year thing. Both Stuart Haas and what's now RFK Racing, but Roush last year. Other than Penske, the Fords have kind of struggled just a little bit, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly why, because the Penske cars have been running okay, although certainly not the dominance that we're used to from them. So it's a little bit of a mystery, and it's one that it's really critical down the stretch. I think that they solve. I think right now the only one locked in is Joey Logano and Cindric are the only ones I believe locked into the playoffs right now, and Briscoe. So there's still work to be done in that camp, but that's not to say. Look, we've seen it all year where one team struggles one week and bounces back and has a good week the next week. So it's really hard to say when that'll happen, but I still feel like it will.
Yeah. So Fords, ironically, with the two tracks that similar to Loudon, which was Gateway and Phoenix, the Fords performed well and won at that races. You talked about Briscoe at Phoenix, and you had Logano at Gateway. They had a really strong showing in the top 10 in the final round with multiple Fords. There was only 4 Fords, and they didn't even take a position in the top 6. So we will see, like I said, how the Fords will perform on Sunday. And that gets into our picks of the race. I'm going to have our picks and our standings up here. Last weekend, I had Brian Nolan pick for me. He picked Ryan Blaney. He had a 5th place finish. Brad Harrison was the guest, picked Truex, an 11th place finish. So I earned another point. Amy, it is going to start with you. Who will score the win here at Loudon?
I really like William Byron this weekend. He was fastest in practice and good qualifying results. So I feel, and he also had some extra experience. He ran the Xfinity race. Yes, he had some troubles with the engine, and he had an earlier issue, a tire issue as well. So he didn't maybe get the finish he liked, but he logged some laps. And the cars aren't very similar anymore. But that doesn't mean he didn't learn anything, as far as they're not running a traction compound this year. So that's different from the past. So he learned what the track feels like without that. He learned where the bumps are and where the difficult spots are. So I think that gives him maybe a little bit of an edge in the game. So that would be my pick for the weekend.
That is a pretty good weekend. William Byron, he kind of did that in Martinsville too. He ran the companion race there, won that race in the Truck Series, and then went on to win the Cup Series race at Martinsville. Another similar flat track, obviously a little bit smaller, but we'll see. I'm gonna go and believe in unicorns in my pick. This driver has had success, not recently, at Loudon, but I'm gonna go with Kurt Busch. I really like what he was, You can't deny the speed that was going on in Kurt Busch's car. He was fastest in round 1, lost a little bit in round 2, will start 3rd, but I think he will perform well here this weekend. Toyotas obviously are performing well at these flatter tracks too, So we will see who will be the better driver and who will get in the victory lane. Amy, it was a pleasure to have you on here. And from everyone here at Frontstretch.com, make sure to subscribe and have a great race weekend. Jared Haas with Frontstretch.com. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check one of those 2 videos out that we have right beside you. Visit Frontstretch.com for more great content.